It's time for Preserving Your Dignity and Your Money, Planning for Successful Aging with Nugen Law. And now your host, J. Bryan Nugen, estate planning and elder law attorney.
Good morning, and welcome to Preserving Your Dignity and Your Money, Planning for Successful Aging with Nugen Law. I'm attorney J. Bryan Nugen, founder of Nugen Law, and your host for our program. The purpose of our show is to have weekly, in-depth conversations about matters relevant to folks as they walk down the path of successful aging. Our listeners will learn what it is to age with dignity and how best to protect their money. I've been practicing law for 3 decades. I'm licensed to practice in Indiana, Ohio, Michigan, and Florida, and actively represent clients in all 4 states. My practice, the attorneys, and our interdisciplinary team of professionals who practice with me concentrate on working with clients in estate planning and elder law and areas related to them, such as protecting money from nursing home stays, securing benefits from programs like Medicaid and the VA, geriatric care coordination, estate and trust administration, guardianships, and planning for those with special needs. Nugen Law sees clients in many stages of life, but commonly we have folks reaching out when they or a loved one are showing signs of needing help. Those signs may include a chronic ailment or progressive decline, before, during, or after a hospitalization, an instance of incapacity, caregiver burnout, stress on family members due to some or all of those instances I just mentioned. So as a reminder, Nugen Law represents clients in Indiana, Ohio, Michigan, and Florida, and we take a life care planning approach to client representation, meaning that not only do our attorneys prepare any legal instruments appropriate for your unique situation, without additional cost, our clients have access to our affiliated CPA firm for preparation of their tax return, are invited to our client-only educational opportunities, have access to our Medicare specialist who advises on what Medicare plan and supplemental plan to secure, the ability to have your legal documents revised as necessary, and when appropriate, unlimited access to our elder care coordinator, a person who assists with whatever help our clients may need as they age, including setting tours of various facilities, arranging for help in client homes, arranging moving and downsizing, and advocating for Nugen Law clients when necessary. If you hear something in today's broadcast which resonates with you, an area in which we may be able to help, please call Nugen Law at 260-925-3738. Speak with one of our intake specialists and schedule a meeting for either our Fort Wayne or Auburn locations. You are also encouraged to see us online at www.nugenlaw.com. Today, I have a very interesting and insightful guest with me in the studio, Adam Tudor, with the Frank Financial Group of Fort Wayne. Adam's educational background began in the arena of education. Then he pivoted to financial services as an insurance agent and developed a strong interest in comprehensive financial planning, at which time he joined the Frank Financial Group, where he is now partner. Adam, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you for having me, Brian.
Yeah, my pleasure. So let's jump right in.
Yeah.
So please share with our listeners the history and investment philosophy of the group that you're with, the Frank Financial Group.
Yeah. So we were started by Herb Frank. He's been a financial advisor for 55 years. And I would say in about the late 90s, Jason, his son, joined his firm. And then in early 2000, they broke off and formed Frank Financial Group. And then I came on, and a couple of years ago, I became partner. And then so we've been a firm for about 25 years, and then we just this spring ended up moving to a new location out just off of Illinois Road on the west end of town.
And do you have an investment philosophy for those clients that are working with you?
Yes, absolutely. So we take an approach that is a little different from the maybe sales or transactional approach. We do more of a service model and a long-term relationship model. So I think it fits a lot with your firm as far as that long-term relationship instead of kind of a one-off transaction. So we start with an investment goal, and then we create a plan that's in service to the goal, and then our recommendations are in service to a plan. So it's very much goal informs the plan, and the plan informs the recommendation. And that's on paper, and it should be on paper, but I think where the rubber really hits the road is when it goes from paper to action. And those plans are long-term plans. They usually take multiple years. They're not things that can just be done in an instant. And so for that reason, our compensation reflects more of a long-term service relationship. So instead of a big upfront sales load, it's more of a fee-for-service over the long run. And we're looking for a long-term relationship with clients.
So if we were to talk about the niche market or the ideal client for Frank Financial Group, Adam, who is it that you're typically attracting or that gravitates to your service model?
Yeah. So what we work with people of all ages. We have people of all ages, as old as people in their 90s and as young as teenagers opening Roth IRAs. Sure. So, but I would say the niche that we find ourselves attracting are people that are either approaching retirement and trying to see when and if they can retire, or people in retirement navigating retirement through the different phases of retirement, planning to leave legacies. Those would be the people that we tend to attract, because those are the people that need multi-year long-term planning. So I always joke that people go to sleep at age 49 and they wake up and they're 50 and they see it coming down the line.
Right.
And
it's getting real.
It's getting real. It's getting very real. And so, I always hear, we needed to talk to somebody, so they come in our office.
Good. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
When you're, who is the Frank Group affiliated with? Who do you trade through, and how does that work for your clients, your customers?
Right. That's something I think Jason and I are both really proud of. We're affiliated with LaSalle Street Securities out of Chicago. They clear through Fidelity. We're also, that's our broker dealer, and then they're also our registered investment advisor, is LaSalle Street Investment Advisors. And LaSalle works with independent firms. So we're an independent firm, we're affiliated with them, but there's no one who pushes products that we're supposed to supposed to sell or advocate from. We can do whatever's in the client's best interest.
So as an independent, if I'm in a different state, I'm not going to hear the promo that for a national franchise or something like that. The Frank Financial Group is independent. It's representing its client's best interests and not selling a particular product that maybe corporate is pushing. Is that a fair assessment?
Exactly. We're completely independent. They help us with our compliance. Sure. There's a regulatory arm that we have to make sure we're in compliance with, and they help us with that, and they help us with custodianship for accounts, but as far as specific recommendations, we're completely free to do whatever the client needs.
Excellent. I'm sure your clients appreciate that. To our listeners, the phone number for Adam and Frank Financial Group is 260-432-8913. So on a more personal level, Adam, as a financial advisor, what's your investment philosophy for yourself and for your clients?
Yeah. I definitely, one thing that really attracts me and gives me a lot of satisfaction is my personal investment philosophy is what I get to use in practice. There's no disconnect with that. I'm very much long-term. I very much believe that we need to be patient. I think there's a lot of themes that, like patience, discipline, faith in the future. I think I've always said, as long as there are people on the earth, there'll be a need for goods and services, and there'll be businesses that provide those goods and services.
True.
So the other thing, having proper asset allocation, having proper diversification within asset classes.
What does that mean? Asset allocation, asset diversification.
Yeah.
I have clients that have money at 5 different banks or 5 different credit unions, and they're telling me they're doing that for diversity.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about?
Not necessarily. Not
Yeah.
necessarily. So asset allocation, there are several buckets that most assets can fall into. If you would say, just as an example, stocks, bonds, and cash. And so asset allocation is what percentage of a person's investment portfolio is filled with stocks, filled with bonds, filled with cash. And then once you decide an appropriate asset allocation, so for example, let's say the asset allocation needs to be more heavy in stocks.
And why would it need to be more heavy in stocks? Is it in relationship to the client goals? Is it relationship
Absolutely.
into the client age? How do you decide bonds, stock, cash?
Yeah. It's entirely based on the client's goals, specific client's goals. But in that bucket, you want to have appropriate diversification. So you want to spread the risk in a particular asset class. But yeah, individual recommendations are entirely based on the client and their goals and their time horizon, their risk tolerance,
Sure.
Things like that. So there's definitely not a one size fits all.
And how often is it that you're meeting with your clients to review their goals and how their investments are performing in relationship to those goals? Typically, what kind of a ongoing relationship do you have with them?
Yeah. At minimum, we do an annual review, and depending on the complexity of their planning needs, we may meet more often than that. And then also, depending on where they're at in terms of retirement, we meet more often than that. So for someone who's 10 years out, maybe an annual review. Once they have things set up and rolling, maybe an annual review to see where we're at is just fine. When they get 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 year out, we're meeting a lot. We're looking at what retirement's going to look like, the particulars of switching from an accumulation phase to a distribution phase. So it really does depend on where the client's at, but at minimum annually.
And are you speaking with the clients about their budget, what they anticipate budgeting and as they retire? Is that part of your review process and decision in making how to allocate their investments?
It can be. I think what we want to make sure is that they get a good handle on their expenses.
Sure.
And that we do projections based on all of their income sources, all of their investments. We take Social Security into account, and then we really want them to hone in on their expenses, because usually what happens is the most controllable thing for the client are their expenses.
Right.
And so and that doesn't necessarily mean when they come in that they need to spend less. It just means that they need to be aware of their expenses, and we need to go over in our plan we need to make sure everybody has peace of mind that those expenses can be met in retirement. Mm-hmm. And we also need to talk about how those expenses might change. Maybe they spend more in retirement. Maybe they spend less. Maybe they spend less when a child leaves, things like that.
I have an opinion, and before I share my opinion about how I see my clients spending their money as they hit retirement, mm-hmm. do you typically see people spending more in retirement, spending less in retirement, more than they anticipated spending, less than they anticipated spending? And maybe it's client specific, but mm-hmm. do you see a general trend in that regard?
I think if there's a general trend, I think people need much more in retirement than they can ever imagine.
Okay, fair enough. Who do you credit your your investment philosophy with? Who've been influences on your practice?
Right. Probably the first one is my dad. My dad. His love of finance kind of rubbed off on me. He was in banking and an entrepreneur. And I definitely think that for Jason and I, Herb has been an influence with our broker-dealer.
Herb
Frank. Yeah. Today, as we record it, this is actually his 82nd birthday.
Happy birthday, Frank.
Yes.
Herb, brother.
With LaSalle, he is, with our broker-dealer, he's the longest tenured registered rep in the United States. His long-term philosophy, really, we owe a lot to him setting that standard. So those two, I think, as far as people I don't personally know, I would say the work of Nick Murray has been. He is a voice in the financial advising community. A lot of our philosophy has been influenced by his work. When we look for technical information, we go to the work of Michael Kitzes, the work of Ed Slott. They're people who can inform a lot of the technical information, but a lot of the just general philosophy of how to run a practice, Nick Murray's been huge for us.
Is that geared toward your industry? Are those authors or providers of information that your clients would reach out to, or more so if you're in the industry doing investments and managing folks' money?
Right. Those would definitely be inside the industry. They're kind of inside baseball. I think that their work might be a little dry for the average client.
Sometimes you don't want to know how the sausage is made.
Right. If they want to read them, they're welcome to. If they have trouble getting to sleep at night. But no, I think for clients, there are definitely some recommendations I would make as far as good people to read. Yep. I think the number one person I tend to recommend to people is the work of Morgan Housel. I think he communicates he does a great job of communicating financial concepts, and he uses stories from other disciplines and subjects to communicate really good truths about personal finance. So Morgan Housel, anything Morgan Housel does, the traditional ones, the Dave Ramsey's, I think using I always recommend people using some of the free budgeting apps out there. Right. Good Budget is one.
You can find them online.
Yeah, they're free, but yeah, I think those are all good things for people who aren't in finance to learn about personal finance. And I think just understanding the cycles of the economy. I think that a lot of times when we always talk about the cycles of the economy, we always want people to be informed and not necessarily to wish the cycles away, but just to not be surprised by them.
Sure. So what do you see, Adam, as your future in relationship to investing for your current and future clients, and then in addition, the future of Frank Financial Group?
Right. I think a big part of that is the phase we came out of. So recently, I have accomplished some career goals of mine, and us moving to a new office was no small thing.
Right.
So that we're coming out of a phase of a lot of transition. Herb has stepped back a little bit. I've taken over some of his clients along with my existing ones, and so we're coming out of a phase of a lot of transition. So what we're hoping to do now, we brought in a new receptionist. We have a staff we really like. So what we really want to do is just continue to serve our clients well. And we're in a good place. We're always looking to help new people.
Sure.
But we're really happy with where we're at, I think. Yeah, we're in a really good place. And I think for Jason and I, we have teenagers. So as our kids kind of transition into adulthood, we're enjoying that phase of life. So yeah, we just want to keep taking care of our clients.
Beautiful. As a reminder to our listeners, Nugen Law represents clients in Indiana, Ohio, Michigan, and Florida. Nugen Law takes a life care planning approach to client representation, meaning that not only do our attorneys prepare any legal instruments appropriate for your unique situation, without additional cost, our clients have access to our affiliated CPA firm for preparation of their personal tax returns, are invited to our client-only educational opportunities, have access to our Medicare specialist who advises on what Medicare plan and supplemental plan to secure, the ability to have your legal documents revised as necessary and when appropriate, without cost again, unlimited access to our elder care coordinator, a person who assists with whatever help our clients may need as they age, including setting tours of various facilities, arranging for help in client homes, arranging moving and downsizing, and advocating for Nugen Law clients when necessary. If you hear something in today's broadcast which resonates with you and an area in which we may be able to help, please call Nugen Law at 260-925-3738. Speak with one of our intake specialists and schedule a meeting for either our Fort Wayne or Auburn locations. You're also encouraged to see us online at www.nugenlaw.com. Adam.
Yes.
As an estate planning and elder law attorney, I regularly meet with clients when they're thinking about retirement or who have just retired. I'm certain you experience that as well in your business. Without sounding too negative, what are some mistakes and some investment mistakes people make after retirement, and what can they do to avoid those mistakes so they have a sound financial future?
Yeah, I think one of the mistakes some people can make is focusing too much on what they're retiring from and not what they're retiring to. So, when a lot of people think about retirement, they think about their job and how much maybe they don't like their job or something like that, and they're ready, they're ready to leave their job. They don't want to have to work for money on a day-to-day basis. But I think what we try to encourage our clients to do is to think about what retirement's going to look like. The other thing is maybe while leisure activity is fun, we all love to do things that are leisure activity. We want to be thinking about things in retirement that'll still give us meaning and purpose and fulfillment. The things that we maybe get to do in our leisure time, if we did those all day, every day, I think after 6 months, it wouldn't be that fun anymore.
Sure.
If we did it all the time. So we need to be thinking about what our retirement's going to look like. I think from a financial standpoint, a mistake a lot of people make is they focus too much on protection of their principal investment, and they don't think too much. They don't think as much about protecting their purchasing power.
What does that mean?
That means that people live in retirement a lot longer than they think they will.
Right.
And so prices are going to go up. We've seen that the last few years in a very real way. But even if inflation wasn't as high as it was maybe 2 years ago or so, it's still a subtle growth. And over a 30-year retirement, that's gonna be something to think about. And so what what you can purchase in year one of retirement is going to cost a lot more in year 25, year 28, year 30. And so protecting your purchasing power and anticipating the cost of things going up.
So how is it that you're recommending people protect their purchasing power?
I think the way they arrange their investments is very important, and the way they approach their investments. And early in retirement, they also need to be aware that there's going to be different phases of retirement, that retirement isn't just all one thing, that early in retirement, they're still going to be hopefully very active and very able to, to do things, and how they approach the first years of retirement. Not just from what they do all day, to also how they approach their finances early in retirement is going to set them up well, can set them up well for later in retirement. But just being aware there are different phases. For some people, the traditional retiring cold turkey is something that I would say we're seeing less of than maybe generations past. I think people are...
Meaning? So they're working fewer hours, 2 days a week.
Yeah, maybe a part-time job, something like that. I think what people are doing in retirement is a little more of a phased approach. I now, not universally, but I would say on the whole, that is something that's maybe a misconception from what most people think about retirement. They think, the traditional idea was you get the gold watch, you walk out of the company, and you're done, and you don't do anything. Yeah. So I think, especially early in retirement, I think what people are finding is that a phased approach works well for a lot of people. Depending on their circumstances, depending on their health, depending on, so many factors. But yeah, retirement needs to be seen in multiple phases, and not just that I leave my, my company cold turkey and that I'm not doing anything.
You said something earlier about protecting your principal, or not protecting your principal. Maybe I got that wrong.
Yeah, I think there was an approach of there's a great fear of I've saved this nest egg, and then I get into retirement, and what we view as risk sometimes isn't the biggest risk. And so certainly you want to prepare if someone's invested in stock funds, you have to prepare for the inevitability that on average 1 out of 4 years stock funds go down. But it doesn't have to be an all or nothing approach. And so too often I think people are concerned about that in retirement, but they overlook the fact that we still, while we're taking withdrawals, while we're living off our nest egg, so to speak, we need to also be aware that the amount of money we're going to need is going to go up over time. So we need to be planning for that as well. We still need to grow a little bit in retirement instead of just, burying it.
Fair enough. If we have a listener not in the financial world, or who may not be working with an advisor like yourself, Adam, at Frank Financial, what are some good financial resources for them to consult, and why are you recommending those? Yeah.
So if they're not working with a financial advisor, I guess the first thing would be call me. I'm available, so that would be one.
So call you at 260-432-8913. I have to get that plug in for you.
Okay, sure.
So call you.
Sure, all right. That would be a start. But I do think the ones I mentioned, if there's someone who is looking for someone to read, I think, anything by Dave Ramsey, anything by Morgan Housel, I think they're people who can give some Dave Ramsey, more like the nuts and bolts of personal finance, but in terms of concepts, because finance is a lot about mindset and how you think about it too, and how we think about money. And so I think that Morgan Housel is a good one. Great.
Thank you. As a reminder, Nugen Law represents clients in Indiana, Ohio, Michigan, and Florida. We take a life care planning approach to client representation. So if something in today's broadcast piqued your interest and you felt the need to reach out to us, please call Nugen Law at 260-925-3738. And in just a few seconds we have left, who would benefit by being a client of Frank Financial Group, Adam?
I would say anyone who is looking for help throughout their life, a long-term approach, and people who want good advice, want straightforward advice, who are looking for someone who is wanting to look out for their best interest.
Well, thanks so much, Adam, for being a guest. I look forward to speaking with you, our audience, next weekend, Saturday at 9 a.m. for Preserving Your Dignity and Your Wealth, Planning for Successful Aging with Nugen Law. Enjoy your weekend.
You've been listening to Preserving Your Dignity and Your Money, Planning for Successful Aging with Nugen Law. For more information, log on to NugenLaw.com or email help@NugenLaw.com. Nothing stated in today's program should be considered as legal advice, should not be considered as having created an attorney-client relationship between show host and guests and any listener. Nugen Law is not liable for anything that happens as a result of a listener relying on provided information as legal advice. The content is for informational purposes only.
Podcasts by Federated Media.